Okay, so I'm quickly going to make another video on adding e-commerce to static sites. And a lot of people find this something that's difficult because a lot of the pre-built systems out there, especially the larger, more complicated ones, are geared towards having a backend and expect that. But there are a number of newer services that are making it increasingly easier to add payment systems and e-commerce features to static sites. So let's have a look at one of the easiest, quickest ways to do that. And that's going to be looking at something called Snipcart, and you can see that I've already created a folder here for Snipcart. And I also have an index file here. So what I'm going to do is create a HTML document, and I'm going to call this Mike's page, and I'm going to add some content to this. So I'm going to have a H1 Mike's page, and I'm just going to add a donate button to this page. Hello, please donate. And we probably need a button, something to take payments. So we'll do that. And I have this up here, Bahanya. I think that's how you say it. And there's nobody here to correct me, so that's how we're going to say it. And this is like a no-class style sheet. And it's one of the better ones, I think. But basically, I can drop this in the head. And then I can create this page here. And if I go HTTP server, which I have already installed globally, this is going to allow me to run that page on a local server somewhere. And I have it here. Oh, you know what? Forgot the main tag. How's that? That looks better. All right, so this is our page, and we can click the donate button, and it doesn't do anything, which is probably pretty expected at this stage. So let's go into Snipcart here, and I'm on their API page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a link for their style sheet, their JavaScript library, and a little div that sort of is going to sort of inject the checkout. And this is a public key, so I can share this with you. There's also secret keys if you want to create your own sort of dashboards and things. But I'm just going to plonk this at the bottom because I don't want this to block anything else on my page, because it will. And that's not really needed until I show the checkout, so I can safely put it at the bottom there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the documentation product page. And you can see that the way that this manages product data is to put data attributes on the HTML elements. And that's different to a lot of other client-only examples which require that you store the product information and the price information like on their service. So for example, if you're using Stripe checkout, you need to have that product and pricing information in Stripe's checkout somehow so that it can validate it. If you have a server or a serverless function, a Lambda of some kind, you can talk to Stripe securely, create a checkout, and then execute that on the client side. But like, unless you have some kind of backend, some kind of service, typically with a client-only solution, that data needs to live with the product gateway. What I like about the way that Snipcart does this, which is kind of clever, is by having this on the page and by having like a URL where it can go back and sort of check that that product information matches up with the request, it means that your HTML can be the source of truth. And that also means that like if you're generating a site, you can go and source this from anywhere, like a JSON file, a CMS, anywhere you like, put it in the HTML, and then it can sort of stay in sync. It's much easier than syncing things up yourself, which I've had to do before as well. So there's a few required attributes. We're going to need data item name, data item ID, data item price, and data item URL. So let's just go and add those now, starting with the ID. So we'll add these to the button. So data item ID can just be, I guess, donate. Data item name, I think, will be like the name that appears in the checkout. So donate to Mike. Then we had price. And I know this needs a decimal. Now, we're not going to be too greedy. How about $3? And we needed a URL. So in dev, I'm not sure if this matters in dev. I'm just going to put / because that is going to be the URL in dev. Okay, so quick edit here. This class name is also required. I forgot about that before. So data attributes are used to tell Snipcart product information, but some special class names are used to tell it that when you see this class name, when someone interacts with that button, that's going to trigger adding an item to the checkout. So there's also a JavaScript API if you want to interact with it in that way, but we're just going to use the class name for now. So you can see that that one was right there in front of me. If I go back to this page now, DevTool, we click the donate button. We're going to get a checkout here. We can donate to Mike many times as we want. And that would work. Like that can go into production mode and that's ready to sell stuff now. When you sell, you can go back to the site. You can also see that like my site CSS, because I'm using a no class style sheet, that it's actually automatically styled some of the buttons and things here. So the cool thing about this being on your site is you can add your CSS quite easily to just customize this, and it's already picked up those colors, which has worked pretty well in most cases. Maybe not the continue shopping button, but yes, you could easily override that stuff. So that's like a really quick way to add e-commerce features to a static site. They have a whole bunch of ways you can add customizations, quantities on your own page, all sorts of things. You can have like stuff that changes the price. I'll let you look at the docs. They actually have some really good videos and stuff as well. But yeah, that's a really quick e-commerce tutorial. Okay, so just one final comment about Snipcart, and that is that whilst it's really quick and easy to get started, I still probably wouldn't use it on a lot of projects. The reason being that this particular JavaScript file just here, this one here ships 0.5 MB of compressed JavaScript, and that is just too much for most projects that I work on. So unless there was like a reason that I really needed to get something quick and I didn't mind the fact that it's a little bit slow and potentially could slow down my site as well, I would probably use Stripe checkout at this point. So if there's anyone from Snipcart listening, even though Stripe is a little bit more work for me, I'm still using it at this stage for those reasons. So if you can improve that, I've got a lot of reason to use this. But if you really need something quickly and you can suffer the consequence of that size bundle, then I would say Snipcart's something to have a look at. It's heading in the right direction there. Okay, so just one final comment about Snipcart, and that is that whilst it's really quick and easy to get started, I still probably wouldn't use it on a lot of projects. The reason being that this particular JavaScript file just here, this one here ships 0.5 MB of compressed JavaScript, and that is just too much for most projects that I work on. So unless there was like a reason that I really needed to get something quick and I didn't mind the fact that it's a little bit slow and potentially could slow down my site as well, I would probably use Stripe checkout at this point. So if there's anyone from Snipcart listening, even though Stripe is a little bit more work for me, I'm still using it at this stage for those reasons. So if you can improve that, I've got a lot of reason to use this. But if you really need something quickly and you can suffer the consequence of that size bundle, then I would say Snipcart's something to have a look at. It's heading in the right direction there.